We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at WGNSradio.com. This is the WGNS Action Line, talking with Rutherford County newsmakers about what matters most to you. Now, your host, Bart Walker.
Well, good morning. This is the segment. We have some friends from the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office with us this morning, and we're going to be talking about your safety. We're coming into a time of the year that a lot of things are happening in our community. Thanksgiving is upon us. Next week, it's not this week. People are getting confused about Thanksgiving. It is not this week, it is next week, okay? Lots of folks are, I heard them talking about turkey pickups and all that drop-offs and everything. That's the week before Thanksgiving. So this Friday is when you drop off the turkeys over at our friends right there at Greenhouse Ministries. And then Saturday is the pickup of the turkeys. But the following week is Thanksgiving. And that's when everybody's out traveling, the beginning of the travel season. And understand that we're going to have a lot of traveling going on this year. We have some folks here with us this morning who are getting prepared for that traveling. Rutherford County Sheriff's Office Sergeant Austin Watson is with us, and he's going to be telling us about the sobriety checkpoint coming up. Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. What is the sobriety checkpoint, and when and where is that?
Sure. So that will be with the Rutherford County Traffic Safety Task Force. We are doing it on Shelbyville Pike. I know we've kind of talked about that the last couple times I've been here. It'll be out near Stones River in front of Christiana Elementary. Basically, we bring in all of our traffic safety partners, all the agencies, and it's a sobriety checkpoint. You know, as we enter the Thanksgiving season and we have a lot of fatalities this time of year, we want people to not drive impaired. This is one of our quarterly DUI checkpoints that we do with the task force, and we just kind of want to curb impaired driving.
Now, do you ever notice when you're out on one of these, do you see a car driving up slowly and stop and turn around, and you ever wonder what they're doing?
Oh yeah, and some people they're not doing anything wrong. They just don't want to talk to us, which that's fine. That's their right. But we ask if you do that, and make sure that you're turning around safely and following the law and all that good stuff.
Do you ever wonder if they're turning around because they're not sober?
It could be. I mean, you never know. People see it and they go, that's probably not for me. I'm just going to turn around and go the other way. So it's possible, yeah.
How many do you have? A lot of citations you give out?
Not a lot of citations. I think the last one we did was on Rutherford Boulevard. I think we had 5 DUIs and a few citations. So 5 impaired drivers off the roads of Rutherford County is a good thing.
Absolutely. Are you ever surprised at some of the things that people are doing that are infringing the laws?
You have to ask.
I mean, when you stop these folks, are you ever surprised at some of the things that have been doing wrong that you catch them at, and maybe they don't realize they're doing wrong?
Yeah, some people may think that they don't have a tail light out, or they don't have a good license, or some reason we come in contact with them. They drive in there thinking they're not impaired, and then they go with us. So it happens. That's just what we're here for, is to keep people safe.
Now, this is coming up this week. What time again is it, and where is it?
So it is Friday. So this Friday, it's Shelbyville Pike at Stones River, right there at Christiana Elementary and Middle. It'll be between the hours of 10 p.m. and midnight.
Is that sort of a rough time to be out? I mean, I've always heard people say, if you're going to be out driving, don't drive between such and such and such and such, because there are a lot of people out there you don't want to come close to.
It's funny. I always think about How I Met Your Mother. Nothing good ever happens after 2 a.m. So if you don't have to be on the road that late, I suggest not to. But, people have lives. People are going to and from Shelbyville for work. That's okay. But if you don't need to be on the road that late, I would suggest not being, because, hey, you may end up meeting an impaired driver.
Yeah, be careful out there. You brought a friend with you.
Yes.
Tell us, Jason Brown's with us. And Jason, you're offering some virtual reality training. Is that right?
Yes, I sure am. So I work for the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office. I'm a sergeant there. I'm in charge of the virtual reality training program for the Sheriff's Office. I was selected in January for this role. And so we're partnered with MTSU, and the program is designed to help law enforcement officers de-escalate situations. And there's also a research component, and the research component is to determine if virtual reality is a good tool to train law enforcement. So this is just a pilot program. It started in January of this year, and it'll run through 2026. And at the end of that, we'll pull all the data together, and we'll present a research paper along those lines, and along with best practices and what we found using the equipment.
Now, when you say virtual reality, are you training against a video or something of that sort?
Well, there's several different manufacturers out there. There was some. It's kind of like broken down. So you have these ones where you're in like the simulator, and like they have like 2D screens that are placed all around you, and so you're in an environment, but it's pretty static. There's like a decision tree. So like, hey, if I do this, then I hit this button on this console and the bad guy does this. And so it's easy to game. Like once you've been through it once or twice, you've seen it all. With the system that we're running, I actually control the character. I voice the character. So depending on how you handle that, I can either escalate the situation or de-escalate the situation based off your understanding of the skills that I'm teaching.
So are these pretty well things that you've actually seen there on the road when you make a stop or something?
Yes, sir. I have 16 years of law enforcement experience. A majority of that has been on the road. I am what you would call a crisis intervention trained officer. I took that training about 8 years ago, and so I've dealt with mental health issues for a majority of my career. And unfortunately, with the state of our country and everything like that, we see more and more mental health calls. Before it was like 2 to 3 times a week. Now it's 2 to 3 times a day.
Wow.
Oh, absolutely. We've started a co-responder program where we actually have a trained clinician in the car that rides along with one of our deputies, and their sole job is to go out and handle these crisis calls. And so what the VR program for the sheriff's office is doing, it's putting officers in situations where they're having to deal with somebody that's showing signs of schizophrenia or bipolar in a manic phase, or clinical depression with hallucinations and along those lines. And so what we're doing is we're trying to teach these officers how best to handle this at-risk population that we do have, and it is booming in Rutherford County.
I think a lot of people don't stop and think about what's happening in the world around us. We hear so much about this problem in jails. Mm-hmm. I mean, because we've closed down all of the institutions that helped people who had mental issues, and we've incarcerated them, basically, and you're not equipped to handle that. But you're saying there's an even bigger problem in the outside world.
Oh, absolutely. And you don't even have to have a mental health disorder or a problem to have a crisis. People go through crises every day, and a lot of times they might not necessarily have the coping skills to deal with it. And what we'd rather do is, as a law enforcement agency, right now I believe we're running at full capacity in the jail, or a little above. And so a lot of times the people that we come in contact, incarceration's not the answer, and unfortunately when all you have is a hammer, everything starts looking like a nail. So what we're trying to do is utilize the resources that are already in the community, and divert these people out of the criminal justice system before it takes hold, and before it becomes a serious need. So if a person's having a crisis, and that we would normally like make an arrest for like, public intoxication or petty theft because the person is, having a dementia risk or is, suffering from dementia and didn't realize they didn't pay for the item that they thought they'd paid for it, but they'd left the store without paying for it. If we can see those and realize what they are, then we can divert them instead of using incarceration, get them the help they need. And with the partnerships that we've developed, with Volunteer Behavioral Health, they have a crisis stabilization unit that's in Murfreesboro now that's voluntarily based. We actually have a bunch of alternative means now. So like if a person's suicidal, but they haven't, made any like serious harms or threats or anything along those lines that would force us to have them taken to the hospital on a hold, we can divert them to the crisis stabilization unit, at their request, and get them stabilized, get the medications taken care of, get them into group therapy and along those lines. And so the VR program is just one component of it. And that is like to teach the officers like that are on the front lines, hey, look, this is how you de-escalate a situation. These are the resources that you can bring into use to divert this person.
Now, when a person has a problem, do they know they have a problem?
A lot of times, no. And a lot of times they might have a mental health condition that is medicated, that medication seems to work, but when they start to feel better, they believe they don't need the medication anymore. They'll drop off, or that let's say they lose their job, they lose their insurance, they also lose access to the medications that they have, and then they start this downward spiral. And a lot of times we see them at their worst. We know, that they're good people at heart, and it's just that they're having a bad time. And so one of the aspects of the program I teach is that I bring in community members, and I bring in people that have mental health disorders, and let them talk to the officers, and let the officers see that, the person you're dealing with is a father or a mother or the son of someone that loves them dearly and just wants to get them help, and that you're seeing them at their worst. And
so there is help locally now?
Oh, there's a ton of help in Rutherford County. We've got to utilize it,
I remember on earlier shows we would hear that you would take somebody for help, put them in the police car, and transport them sometimes to Memphis or some faraway place you'd get there, and then they couldn't take you at that time.
Yes, that does happen. We've gotten better at it. We've coordinated with like the Middle Tennessee Mental Health Institute and the local mental health hospitals, so that we try to keep that from happening. But those are normally on state holds. Those are what fall under a 6404, which is an involuntary committal. And at that point, all we do is transport. So a medical doctor has said that there is a need for this person to be held against their will to receive the help. And those only normally last in between like 72 hours. There is a legal process involved, because at that point their rights are taken away. So they do have due process, and they will, they do get, they will receive legal counsel, and they'll go in front of a judge, and there will be a hearing to determine if they still need that help. So luckily, with the way the process works in Tennessee, they're not confined without rights for too long. And a lot of times they do need it, and it's just a stabilization. It's get them back on their medications, and, get them to group therapy and get them into an outpatient process, and then they go about their lives, and and they're able to manage and stuff. But a lot of times what we deal with is, as I said, people in their worst, having the worst day, not by their own doing. It's just, unfortunately, it's a mental health illness.
Now, you mentioned that sometimes our adult detention center, the local jail, is at capacity. In fact, it sounded like most of the time. Is it just this time of the year, or is it that way pretty much all the time?
I would say it's pretty fairly regular that we're running at capacity. Unfortunately, it's just what it is. With a booming county where we're just having people just moving in all the time.
The good comes with the bad.
Yes, sir.
And are these people mostly facing mental issues? The bulk of the overpopulation at the jail.
Some of the statistics I've seen suggest that about 40% of the individuals incarcerated throughout the United States do suffer from some sort of mental illness. The funny statistic is that it's not funny. It's actually pretty sad that people that suffer from mental illness are more likely to be victims of a crime than be the perpetrators.
And yet they're the ones in jail.
They do have a lot of run-ins with law enforcement, unfortunately.
Wow. So if that could be solved, not only would it help them cope with life better, but it would solve your problem by drop you down 40%, sounds like.
Yeah, it would. That is a goal. I'm not sure we'll ever actually reach that. One of the things that I've also done is that we do teach our correction staff. It's not just street level law enforcement that I teach. So I teach the correction staff at the jail the same de-escalation skills, so that when they're dealing with inmates and they're dealing with people that have been detained, that they have a resource they can use and be able to de-escalate crises inside the jail to keep them from getting charges added on and assaults and stuff like that on the jail staff.
Tell you what let's do. Let's pause for just a moment. We'll get back and continue the conversation. We're talking about law and order here in the heart of Tennessee, and we'd like to encourage you, if you have a question, easiest way is to text it to us, 615-893-1450. Text us your question, 615-893-1450. That text line is open right now, so if you have a question, text it to us, 615-893-1450. We'll be right back.
Hey, hi, and hello there.
Rutherford Issues with Brian Barrett.
Fun lovers and truth seekers.
Weekday mornings at 10 on WGNS AM FM online.
Hi, this is Amanda from Animal City, inviting your family to come do business with my family. Most of us know to buckle up to protect ourselves in the car. Did you know you can offer your pet the same type of protection with a Roughlin kennel? This time of year, we usually look to vacation. If you're traveling with your pet, keep them safe in a Roughlin kennel. Here at Animal City, we are a Roughlin dealer. Come in and see us and get your pets some protection. Animal City, 919 Northwest Broad Street here in Murfreesboro.
This is Peter Demas. Come eat with us at Demas's restaurant. A lot of times when you get steamed vegetables such as broccoli or cauliflower, it's either soggy. One of the things that we wanted to do was make certain that it was still soft, but still had a little bit of a crunch to it. And so we worked on the procedure of how to cook that. And then all of our vegetables are seasoned with our seasoned salt. We keep that seasoned salt at home, and I can tell you almost all the vegetables I cook at home have the seasoned salt on it. Come eat with us at Demas's restaurant on Northwest Broad Street.
Skies become mostly sunny this afternoon with temperatures holding steady. Tonight mostly clear and a low near 36. Thursday sunshine, a high around 50 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS.
Currently, it's 56.
Good morning, this Rex over to the side. Everybody insists on looking at it. It's not much to see really on 40 westbound at Stewart's Ferry Pike. It's just heavy through Hermitage right now coming in from Wilson County. There's still some volume up there on Vietnam Vets coming out of Hendersonville, westbound Vietnam Vets there at Conference Drive. It's busy, but it's moving. Let's keep it that way. 24 westbound up through Antioch coming in from Murfreesboro. Hey, whether you need a new roof repair, roof inspection, if anything's going on with your roof, call Independent Roofing Specialists. Check out IRSroofs.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Looking for a lift kit for your truck or Jeep and need the right experts to install it? Look no further than Tire World in Murfreesboro, Smyrna, and Laverne.
Tire World, we keep your family rolling.
Hey, neighbor, when you talk, others listen. If it's on Good Neighbor Talk, keep it here. WGNS, AM, FM, online.
Hey, good morning. Welcome back. Our phone number, if you want to join us with a text, 615-893-1450. 615-893-1450. Friends from the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office are with us this morning. And one of the topics we're covering this morning is the Sobriety Checkpoint, which is coming up this Friday from 10 o'clock at night until midnight, and that is on 231 South, the Shelbyville Highway. We are telling you that in advance. People are probably wondering, why do you tell them in advance? I mean, that takes the fun out of it.
Yeah, that's so that is required by Supreme Court law and state
Really?
law. Yes, so there is a time period that it has to be announced through media outlets, 2 weeks, and it has to be announced so that people have the knowledge that it is occurring. So that is actually required by state law.
So if you're drinking and driving, don't go in that area.
That's what we tell
I
you.
mean, that's basically what it is.
Yeah, well, and so the Supreme Court came through with, that is a brief detainment, right? So constitutional rights apply, and if those are going to happen, there has to be certain things to make sure that the checkpoint is in line with people's constitutional rights, gives them a heads up, and then that we are doing what we're supposed to while we're on the checkpoint.
Okay. So again, that is this Friday, and it's, I guess, part of the holiday preseason training.
So we actually, as the task force, we do one a quarter. So we do one every quarter of the year, and this is just the one that we have for this quarter. But we try to do at least 4 a year as a group somewhere within Rutherford County.
Okay. This Friday, and that's 10 o'clock at night till midnight, and that's 231 South, the Shelbyville Highway.
Yep, right.
What was the place again?
Stones River, right there by
Right,
Christiana Elementary
Okay.
and Christiana Middle.
And are you going toward Murfreesboro or toward Shelbyville?
We'll be doing it both ways.
Both ways. Okay,
Both
so
ways.
equal opportunity.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's go back to the conversation about the overcrowded jail, the issues you're having with mental problems here in the community. But it's not just Rutherford County, I don't guess. Everybody has this.
No, it's clear across the country. Unfortunately, I'm not sure exactly the reasonings behind it, but it just seems like there's more and more mental health issues throughout the country with the population that we have.
We got rid of the mental health facilities, didn't we? Closed them down in the 60s?
Yes, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And
didn't
I
replace
think the
them.
idea, what brought it about was the horrible conditions that people were living in a lot of these facilities. They were just pretty much locking them up and throwing away the key. And, you just, and when the public found out, there was outrage and, a cry to fix that. And their solution was just close them down without actually having anything in place to care for the people that do need it. There was a law that was just recently passed. It was called Jillian's Law. Unfortunately, there was an incident, and I don't want to speak too in depth on it because I'm not quite sure. But there was a gentleman that was found unable to, incompetent to stand trial. He'd been found incompetent to stand trial, so therefore they couldn't proceed along. He'd been involved in like a shooting or once or twice before that in Nashville. And a lady ended up losing her life after he was released. And so to combat that, the legislature had passed a law, Jillian's Law, which allows judges to detain a person and have them housed even if they're unfit to stand trial just because they're a danger to society. And so that has actually put an extra burden on the state-run mental health institutes in Tennessee. There's one in each region. There's one in East and Western and Middle Tennessee. And now they have even less capacity in beds because they're having these people that are being held pretty much indefinitely now because they are a danger to the public even though they are unfit to stand trial for the crimes that they had. And I was just at MTMHI a couple of weeks ago, and they were telling me that they've already lost like up to 20 beds to that law, and they only have their capacity is only normally like 150 beds, and the other long-term patients they have, it's the ones that were found not guilty by reason of insanity, so they have to be housed. And they do have a maximum security detainment center there to get them help.
At that facility,
Yes.
do they have knowledgeable people who are working with these?
Oh, absolutely. The staff there is top notch. Like I've recently been coordinating with them quite a bit, and so I see what they have to go through on a daily basis. One of the things that I try to do with the program I teach is a lot of the officers they only see it on the front end. They keep wondering why they have to keep dealing with the same people over and over and over, and so part of my program along with the VR is like I actually take them to MTMHI and we do a tour and we sit down with their clinicians and their doctors and their psychiatrists, and then we talk to the patients. And so we see what goes on behind those doors and what they try to do to rehabilitate these people. And so, I think it gives them more well-rounded, it makes an officer more well-rounded when they know what goes on past their contact with that person, that they see what happens, and then they kind of understand, like, hey, why this person was out 2 hours later and now he's back in a crisis and we got to go back out and deal with them again. So
here's a text from a listener who says, I used to work at Clover Bottom in the 60s, and they said that back then some of these people were not suitable to be living in the public. They just couldn't make it in the public. Are you getting those people at the Rutherford County Jail? And if so, do you feel like that the staff is equipped to handle them?
Well, actually, so we do have full-time medical staff at the jail. They're provided by Dr. Rudd, and they're pretty top-notch as far as I've seen. Like, they're good. They deal with the mental health issues inside the jail, and if they do need to be unfortunately, if they do have to end up going to MTMHI, then we send them there. We give them the care that we can while we're in the jail. We unfortunately, as law enforcement, we wear so many hats now. It's not just the law and order. It's law and order. It's behavioral health. It's teaching parenting, and it's we deal with so much now that's on our plate that gets pushed onto us, and so we cope and we deal with it as best we can. And then, sometimes, unfortunately, we're not as trained as we should be because it was something that come up that was unexpected. And so then after that happens, it's always like, well, hey, we need training on this. We need training on that. And we provide officers quite a bit of training. Back to the VR program. So I teach a federal model of crisis intervention training. It's called CRIT. It's Crisis Response Intervention Training. It's a 40-hour course. And it has, we cover everything from mental health disorders to substance use disorders. We discuss homelessness, and we cover a wide variety of topics that we'll run into on the street. And then at the end of that, we do the VR training in these virtual environments where they'll deal with someone that is homeless and that is living in a crisis, and we'll deal with like a domestic situation where a husband or a wife are intoxicated because they've just lost their job and they're arguing with their significant other, and that we'll try to de-escalate the situation before it gets out of hand, or along those lines. Matter of fact, Austin, he's volunteered, and he actually helps teach my substance use module. He's a drug recognition expert, which actually, it's funny because I have a list that I give out to all my students, and part of that list is it's a list of psychiatric drugs, and based off what those particular drugs are, you can determine, okay, this person's bipolar, this person suffers from clinical depression, or he's taking a psych med for schizophrenia. And so, like, a lot of times when you're dealing with the public, they might not even know what they've been diagnosed with, but they'll have a bag full of medications. And so an officer can look at those and go, okay, hey, and kind of get an idea of where to start, and then you can ask the right questions. Well, hey, are you taking your meds like you're supposed to? How much sleep have you gotten? How do these make you feel? Do you believe that your medication needs to be altered or changed? We can help you with that. We can get you in and get those regulated and taken care of. And so, but the crossover about it is that because of those psych meds, they do affect the body in particular ways. And so Austin, we were sitting down one day and I was showing him that list, and he's like, I know all these drugs. I know what they do to the body. And so, and then it was just clicked, and it was like, well, hey, you know what? I need you to partner with one of our other mental health professionals. Actually, his name's Benjamin Dobbs. He's the CEO and president of True Addiction, and it's located over off of Middle Tennessee Boulevard. And if anyone needs any help, I highly recommend you go talk to Benjamin. He's a great guy. He deals with mental health issues, and he deals with substance use. It's an inpatient, outpatient, and they do group therapy. Fantastic.
And you mentioned that you're taking on new chores every day. I mean,
yes, sir.
The requirements of a police officer are changing as each day passes. Is that creating a challenge, or does it take a new type of person to be a police officer compared to, say, 30 years ago?
I wouldn't say new, but it definitely takes a dedicated individual that is able to continue learning throughout their career. You can't get stuck. You have to continually learn. Laws change every year. New laws are added on the books. Old laws are taken off. As I said, we wear so many hats. Like with Austin here, with being a drug recognition expert, that wasn't a thing when I started in law enforcement. And so, it was like you looking for the main indicators of alcohol. But now most DUIs, I'd say over half of them are drug related, and they might not even be abusing their drugs, but they are impaired because of them. You have anything you want to touch on with that?
Yeah, with the way law enforcement is growing, the word profession keeps getting thrown out. What I hear, it's 30 years ago, this was just a job. And as we grow and learn as a organization, profession across all lines, not just Tennessee, but all 50 states and federal and local levels, we are asking individuals to learn a lot. I mean, you're getting a minor degree in law, you're learning field sobriety, you're learning domestics, you're learning how to drive with the lights and sirens on. So we have evolved, and the individuals now that are working in law enforcement just have more hats to wear, but the profession is growing where we're giving them the tools to succeed. So 30 years ago, it wasn't, you hear the stories, oh, hey, you were handed a gun and a badge and no training program and say, go forth and police. Now we're giving them, 6 months of training and then another 10 weeks at the academy or 12 weeks. And we're giving them the tools. So as we grow as a profession, we've seen the pitfalls, and we are trying to grow those officers so they can go out and succeed and protect the community.
Here's a listener who says, we have a need in our family for some support groups. Are there support groups for families as well as individuals who have some mental challenges?
Absolutely, there are. There is definitely support groups out there for family members that do have people in their family, let's say with schizophrenia or autism. There's support groups for that, because that was another underserved population that we do that we do have contact with quite a bit, is intellectual and developmental disabilities, and they run the gamut. And so if that listener, if they want, I can direct them and get them some of the support they need. I don't have those phone numbers on me, but I can text them those phone numbers myself.
Okay. Or can they just get with you at your office or email you or something?
Yes. You can email me at jbrown@RCSOTN.org.
Give us one more time.
All right, it's J Brown, so it's spelled JBROWN @RCSOTN.org.
Okay.
And I'll be happy to try to forward you the resources that I've come across that would probably help you.
And these are, I'm sure they're not the only ones who don't know how to get that information.
Oh, absolutely. And as far as law enforcement goes, we didn't know either. Like, when I started this journey, I was like, oh, we have so many resources here that are underutilized. And so I've really tried to make inroads with the community. And matter of fact, 90% of my module, or 90% of the class I teach, is taught by civilians, and they are mental health experts. They come from all walks of life. They've had their own substance use issues. They're family members that have family that suffer from these same issues, and so I think it's a really well-rounded program, and I'm really excited about it.
Here's another question. This person says, we see an increase in the homeless population here in Rutherford County. Is it mostly due to mental illness?
I wouldn't say 100% of it is, but the homeless population does have a large component that does have mental health issues. And I couldn't give you the exact breakdown, but it's large.
And it is. And unfortunately, when mental health issues occur, I just taught this module in the last class, sometimes people become homeless because they cannot deal with their mental health issues, right? They lose their job or something bad happens and they have a snafu. And so mental health is related, but it's not always the cause.
So if that's an issue and a family member sees it as an issue, what can they do? Do they call the sheriff's office, or do they call a hospital, or what do you do?
If they're having a crisis right at that moment, absolutely call us. Like, we have the co-responders that can come out, that they're clinicians, and they can help take care of that issue right there. A lot of the times what we see is people are looking for, like Jason said, resources, right? They're getting there, but they're not having a mental crisis right at that point. And that's where the community comes in and say, hey, we can reach out to these partners that can get them the help before they get to that homelessness stage, or they lose their house, or they lose their job. We can get them on the right medication and get them back to living a normal life.
Tell you what let's do. Let's pause for one moment. We'll be right back, the final segment. If you have a question, get it to us quickly, because as we said, this is the final segment.
Catch the Rick and Bubba Show on News Radio WGNS.
Weekdays, 11 until 2 on News Radio WGNS.
We're excited to announce that Capstar Bank is now officially a division of Old National Bank. All those friends you've made while banking here over the years, well, they're still there. And so are the delicious, warm, homemade cookies.
In Murfreesboro at 2230 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard.
Everything you enjoyed at Capstar, still there at Old National Bank. Old National Bank, ready to serve you.
Old National Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
I am Charlotte Gardner.
Why do you love Adams Place?
Gee, there are so many things, but I guess the choices. You can be as lazy as you want to be. You can be as active as you want to be. The residents are friendly. The staff is wonderful. You don't need to be concerned at all. It's up to you.
Hi, this is Terry Deal at Adams Place. Call me for more information about Adams Place. Phone 615-904-9111.
Adams Place on Memorial, across from Walmart.
Skies become mostly sunny this afternoon with temperatures holding steady. Tonight, mostly clear and a low near 36. Thursday, sunshine, a high around 50 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS.
Currently, it's 56.
Now, more than ever, start your mornings with WGNS. The Action Line with Bart Walker. Weekday mornings at 8:10 on WGNS, AM, FM, online.
Welcome back. We're talking law and order this morning. Visiting with us from the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office, Sergeant Austin Watson and also Sergeant Jason Brown. I understand that next Wednesday, not today, but next Wednesday, has a day that's a sort of a dubious honor, I guess you could say. What makes next Wednesday different?
So next Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, is the most traveled day in America. From flights to buses to cars on the road, that is when we see the most traffic. So as we approach the holiday season, I think we've talked about before, this is when we see a lot of our fatal wrecks. So we ask people to slow down, give yourself some extra time to get there, wear your seatbelt, don't drive impaired. There will be more law enforcement out just because that is the most traveled day. But just give yourself some time and don't be in a rush. Thursday will come.
Now, people notice as you pull onto the interstate, there are some sections of the interstate that there's just always a bottleneck. There's traffic that if you're on, say, over toward Franklin, what is that, 65?
Mm-hmm.
As you go toward Murray County, there's always a standstill in traffic just past the exit you get off to go to Murfreesboro.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that we have that same problem here in Murfreesboro at certain places. If you're getting off of 840 and getting on to Broad Street, just as soon as you get onto Broad Street, as soon as 3 o'clock in the afternoon hits, which is not travel time,
sure,
the traffic's bumper to bumper. Well, what do you do about that? Is there anything you can do? Is that just where are all those people coming from?
That's an infrastructure thing. As we grow as a county, and once you put a lot of people on the road, it can only handle so much, right? And I think we see a lot of people now are working those earlier jobs. The 9 to 5 or the 8 to 4 is not the normal anymore. You get a lot of these warehouses that have people come in at 3 in the morning, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So that's their get off time. So as we navigate that, it's just, we're a growing county. And unfortunately, as traffic comes with growing and infrastructure, and TDOT has a 10-year plan, and Murfreesboro probably has a 10-year plan, and patience. That's why they say it's a virtue.
Yeah. Rush hour is really not just rush hour. It's like rush hours, and they're pretty much from like 3 to 7 o'clock at night now. The best thing I can tell commuters is pay attention to the traffic in front of you. Try not to rear end anybody. Everyone's trying to get to some place. Hold your temper. We see all these. We get calls about road rage all the time. Like, oh, hey, this person cut me off. I was just flipped a bird. They've thrown something at my car, and if just everyone had a little civility. I don't understand. You wouldn't do that to a person in a line in front of you. Why does it make it acceptable for you to do that in a vehicle? Mm-hmm. And unfortunately in Tennessee, everyone's armed, and one person might consider it a threat to their person, and they might respond, and a lot of times that stuff just gets taken way out of hand. Just show a little patience and a little grace is the best thing I can tell you, and slow down. Everyone's, as I said, everyone's going to get to where they're going. It's just, unfortunately, it might take a little more time. But,
and since next Wednesday is the heaviest travel day of the whole year,
yes,
we need to really watch out.
Yes, like I said, it's take that extra time. Give yourself a little grace, a little patience, and understand it's not just you traveling; it's half the country. So get there, have fun, enjoy your family. Thanksgiving is upon us. The holiday season is upon us. It's a fun type of year for most people, but as you get on the roadways, we ask you to slow down, wear your seatbelt, don't drink and drive, and just have a grace for your neighbor.
Here's another question from a listener. This one says, in light of the recent announcement by the director of the TBI about the Venezuelan gang being in Tennessee now, what should we do to avoid having problems with our family? Is this an issue of road rage? Is it anything that we can avoid to reduce that problem?
So I saw the director's announcement. We have not seen anything on the roadways in reference to road rage. I can't really speak on that. I don't know too much about it.
Did you get anything at the sheriff's office about it? Any pre-announcements or?
Well, unfortunately, Tennessee has numerous gangs. They're just one of many. It's a newer gang, but between like the normal gangland stuff that we deal with, we are on the lookout for it. There has been some law enforcement encounters with them, and we handle it no different than we handle any other gang violence or human trafficking or anything like that. I wouldn't be overly concerned just as, I mean, they're no better, no worse than any of the other gangs out there. You've always got to keep your head on a swivel, pay attention to your surroundings. Don't keep your face buried in a phone. You know, that's a surefire way of asking for trouble. I wish we were living in the 50s where everyone could leave their doors and windows unlocked. Unfortunately, that's just not the state of things right now. And so hopefully in the near future, we can get a lot of this taken care of.
And so it sounds like we're going to be that way for a little time to come, or maybe forever.
I hope not forever. I mean, then it would kind of make our jobs pretty pointless if this is always going to continue, you know, because we want to make a difference and help, you know. Our main job is to help the citizens of Rutherford County and the United States, and that, you know, I don't want people to lose sight of that. You know, that's why most people go into law enforcement, is to make a difference. And so, you know, you always got to have hope. And, you know, and so, like, I try to make a difference every day. I know Austin tries to make a difference every day, and that's what we just got to keep doing.
And on that note, we want to say thank you to Rutherford County Sheriff's Sergeants Austin Watson and Jason Brown for joining us this morning. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all that you do for the community.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you for having us on.
Good morning to you from WGNS Murfreesboro. Stay with us. The morning continues.